Me adjusting my 25 rings. Okay, slay. Hello and welcome back or welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Sara Camps and I'm back with a sit down video. It's been a minute. I just came back from a 2.5 week vacation in Japan. I did vlog for my YouTube, so if it's not posted already, it will be. I was posting during my trip over on my Instagram and TikTok. If you're not following me, go follow me there. Definitely post more in the moment there. And you guys were loving the Japan content. So I asked everyone over on my Instagram to send me some questions about Japan that they really want to know. And of course, I wrote them all down in here and I'm going to answer them all for you today. So to start off, I am by no means a Japan expert. This was my very first time going to Japan, actually my very first time in Asia in general. It is a big trip and I did it solo. No particular reason as to why I wanted to do it solo. It's just a bucket list trip that I've always dreamed of. I have a ton of friends who have went and they always say, Sara, you would love it there, you need to go. Not to mention, I grew up in the early 2000s and Fruits magazines was my biggest inspiration. I also travel a lot for work, and when I travel for work, I'm usually with at least one other person, constantly socializing, and not to mention working or trying to make it to fashion shows on time. I wanted this trip to be more of a vacation for me, but at the same time, I can still film my own content just for fun, hence the little travel vlogs. I'm someone who's very independent and someone who loves to adventure and explore, try new things, try new foods. I really will try anything once. I'm not scared of much. And I feel like to travel to such a foreign country like that, you do have to feel comfortable enough, especially if you are on your own and especially if you are a woman. I definitely feel like I stood out, but I feel like there's really nowhere I go where I don't stand out. So yes, even in Japan, I definitely got a lot of looks. That is one of the questions I'm going to answer. Basically, that's kind of the reason as to why I wanted to do this trip. I told myself last year that I wanted it to be this year, and I kind of committed to that when I actually booked the trip in October. From Toronto, Canada, I booked direct flights there and back out of Pearson Airport to Haneda Airport. I believe there's another major airport in Japan, Narita, I think, that has direct flights out of big cities. Flew Air Canada. I've flown Air Canada many times before. Do I recommend them? I don't fly fancy business class or anything, you guys. I fly economy. I just prefer window seat if I can. And I traveled with 2 large suitcases and then just like a massive tote bag as my carry-on. Did leave room for shopping. I pre-planned this trip to be a big shopping trip. So I took that into consideration also when figuring out costs and how much I wanted to spend. I went for a total of 18 days. I chose to do 18 days instead of just 2 weeks because I wanted to travel to multiple places in Japan, at least 3 to 4 different cities. I knew I would have to give myself at least 3 to 4 days in each city because there is so much to see. And again, take into consideration, I am a big shopper, a big vintage shopper, a big luxury shopper, secondhand, but I know the market there was going to be insane. So I also planned my trip and where I traveled to within Japan, kind of with that in mind. Tokyo was a must. I also flew into Tokyo. The airport is basically a half-hour drive from downtown Tokyo. I actually stayed in a part of Tokyo called Shinjuku. Highly recommend that area. It was perfect. Stayed in a hotel called APA or APA. A ton of them throughout Japan and they're super high rise, but I had such a great experience. Stayed in the same kind of building, same hotel in Osaka. So I split up my trip by doing 6 nights in Tokyo and then I did 5 nights in Osaka and then 6 nights in Kyoto. And then 1 more night back in Tokyo before I flew out of Tokyo the next day. I'm actually not the best flyer, to be honest, and I have to make myself fall asleep. I'm very anxious on the plane. I barely felt jet lagged on the way there or on the way back, which was perfect because I felt like I adjusted to the time change, which was also 13 hours, by the way. I felt like I was living in the future. It was so bizarre. But because of that, I feel like I got to really use up those extra days that I accounted for possibly being kind of half asleep. I feel like 18 days was honestly the perfect amount of time, but I think that you could stay even longer and still be able to find a sufficient amount of things to do or more places within Japan to travel? Absolutely. You could spend months there. There is so much to do. To get into all of your burning questions, starting off, what was your favorite 7-Eleven snack? You guys, I went to 7-Eleven quite literally every single day I was in Japan. They have a 7-Eleven at every single corner of every street throughout the whole country. And their 7-Eleven snacks are unmatched. They are better than any other place you've ever been. I actually haven't been to every 7-Eleven in the world, so maybe I can't say that, but genuinely, I was blown away. Everything I tried was amazing. I think my favorite 7-Eleven snack was either the pancakes with the maple syrup and butter already on there, it was like packaged, or the DIY smoothies with the machine, frozen fruit in a cup, and you basically pay for it and then you bring it to the machine and the machine takes the cup, blends it all up, and then gives it back to you, and it's the most delicious smoothie ever. Next question is, did you feel safe traveling alone? Something I asked a few of my friends that traveled to Japan before, like how would I feel being alone there? I also have traveled Europe a lot solo as well, and there are some places in Europe where I feel totally safe and some where I definitely don't. Japan's crime rate is so low. I wouldn't say I walked a ton at night in the dark. I'd say again, I stayed close enough to major cities like downtown Tokyo, so when I was walking somewhere, it was usually downtown with a bunch of people and lights. Kyoto, for instance, the streets were a little quieter by my hotel and I didn't feel unsafe, but it is a lot darker. Their subways or metros, trains, their buses. I even used a cab a lot while I was in Kyoto specifically. There are signs literally everywhere. I will say the train stations are pretty large, so it's easy to get lost, but if you ever do, and trust me, I did so many times, asking anyone who works at the train station is the easiest way. They speak the best English. You really don't even need to translate anything, and they will point you in the right direction. Also, I will say if you're going for a week or longer, which I would say most people probably do, I got a card for the transit system. You basically tap on and then you tap off when you're leaving, called a Passmo card. You load it up with yen and you just use it to tap. Sure, it takes about $2 per ride. Buses also take change. I, of course, exchanged cash ahead of time, so I did bring a lot of yen with me, which is the currency that they use in Japan. Basically, 200 yen was around $2 Canadian, which is $1.30 American. Next question is there any Japanese culture you would implement at home? Yes, absolutely. I actually did a traditional tea ceremony and got to learn all about why they do it and how religious and spiritual it really is for them. Matcha tea, I feel like I can never go back to having matcha tea in North America the same. So I did pick some up. I recently actually got an entire matcha tea set, and I have been making matcha tea the exact way I was taught in the tea ceremony. It just makes me feel like I'm there. Are there any language barriers? So I went with no prior Japanese knowledge other than hello and thank you. Every other time I didn't understand something or there was a menu maybe I didn't understand, which most of the time they also had an English menu for you or at least knew how to kind of tell you what there was. I would just use my phone to take a photo, highlight, and translate, and Google Translate works pretty well, especially for Japanese, at least enough to get the basic words out that you need to get the message across. Next question is, did anyone stop you in the streets to take photos? Funny thing is, I was actually recognized from TikTok by a few fans from other countries. I believe one was from Australia and the other fan was from the UK. Obviously just on vacation in Japan as well and happened to run into me shopping. And then we started chatting and we took some photos together. The Japanese locals definitely, like I mentioned before, would probably take a double look at me. but it's nothing that I'm not already used to. It's definitely not anything more than what I get traveling anywhere or even walking around in my own city. And it was never in an offensive way. Again, I think most of the time it's what I wear, most of the time it's my makeup or something like that. And I don't take that in a negative way at all. I was having the time of my life. Okay, next question is, what was your favorite food? Any of the sushi I tried, it was always so fresh and so good. Any of the ramen, I think I ate ramen probably 5 times out of the week. What was your favorite experience? I think the kimono dressing, I absolutely recommend that more than anything probably. To rent or purchase a kimono, you can totally just rent one. I just rented one. And they dress you, which is so interesting to, first of all, be dressed by somebody. Also in a traditional kimono, and the way that they tie it is so cool. They're so good at it, so quick. Take pictures at a temple and just kind of immerse yourself in the culture. Try some of the traditional street food. Fave store, Closet Child. I'm gonna touch on all of the stores that I loved. So many of you asked for store recommendations, so do not worry, I got you. Definitely Closet Child, they have multiple in Tokyo. They definitely have one in Osaka and possibly other places in Japan. Carry so much Vivienne Westwood. They carry such rare pieces for really good prices, like insane prices. Next question is fave outfit of the trip. The outfit I wore for the Hello Kitty train, which I will throw up a photo of it here, was a Issey Please Please top and bottom, but I just felt like the color combo felt so perfect for the Hello Kitty train. Also, the Hello Kitty train was one of my favorite experiences as well. So like honestly, the entire trip. Number 8 is, can you have tattoos and go to the onsens? So a lot of people were asking about tattoos in general, and honestly, I again kind of did my research on this. There are some onsens that are totally okay and actually tattoo friendly. Would definitely recommend checking ahead of time or emailing or calling if you can. Make sure that you're going to one that is okay with it, obviously. It was such a relaxing experience. I definitely recommend. Question number 10 is asking about the cost of things there and the trip in general. Okay, so the cost of things in terms of food in Japan, I found to be pretty cheap, especially for what food and groceries, convenience store snacks and whatnot cost here. I did feel like the secondhand designer shopping, also definitely cheaper than you find in Canada and even cheaper than I've found in big cities through America. There were so many rare Chanel, Louis Vuitton, Dior bags that you kind of only will probably see in Japan. So if you're someone that likes to collect or even are a reseller of luxury goods, I would highly recommend Japan. I definitely think it's a good place for that. I still like to get a good deal, so I wouldn't say I went crazy, although I did expect to spend and went into the trip ahead of time already knowing that. Without talking exact numbers, I wouldn't say it's a $10,000 trip. It could be, but I'm not trying to spend that much money. I'm also not trying to buy a Chanel bag necessarily. So I managed to keep the trip at around half of that. My flight cost was just shy of $2,000, which is actually pretty good. And then I found the hotels for about 6 nights each. Was very fairly priced. I find the hotels super nice, super clean. Shopping I found to be pretty cheap. And totally depends where you're shopping, what you're shopping for. As much as I like to shop, I am a deal shopper, and I feel like Japan held up to my standards. Question number 11 is, how was moving from place to place? So like I said, I went with 2 massive suitcases, and by the end of my trip, I had to purchase a 3rd massive suitcase. I sort of did plan for that. I knew I would probably fill my suitcases that I came with and need a 3rd one. But hey, now I have a new suitcase. From Tokyo to Osaka and Osaka to Kyoto and then Kyoto back to Tokyo. 2 massive suitcases and then my massive tote and my purse. Don't really recommend if you're by yourself and you don't have help. The thing with my trip is I did not have to necessarily be anywhere at any time other than leave my hotel at a certain time and check into my other hotel after 3 p.m. I was not on anyone's schedule but my own, so I took my time. Truly the way to travel because I felt so at ease and not anxious or stressed at all. But there is a service within Japan where a company will actually come to your hotel and pick up your luggage for you and bring it to your next location anywhere within Japan. We'll link it in the description and I will put the service name up on here. Question number 14 is, what did you plan ahead and what did you just kind of go with the flow on? I asked a ton of my friends for recommendations, and some of them actually sent me their Google document links, which were like massive spreadsheets on recommendations for bars, food, shopping. So like I said, I'm definitely gonna give you some of my recommendations, but that was definitely helpful. Ask your friends, ask your peers, your coworkers, anyone that you know that has been. Just kind of helps you also know the areas to even be looking in. But honestly, most of the time, trying to think of somewhere to go shopping or to go eat, even a quick Google search on like the popular areas of Osaka, and kind of do a little bit of research, kind of do a little bit of looking around on Google Maps. And then I would just kind of check reviews of a restaurant and try it out. That's kind of the fun part about exploring and trying new things, especially when you're on your own, is you don't know what left the biggest imprint on you. This is where I can answer with the Hello Kitty train experience. That was something I have been wanting to do literally since they came out with that. And the fact that I actually got to do it is like, I haven't even wrapped my head around that. That's gonna be something I'm gonna tell my kids and be like, we are gonna go do it, but like your mom rode that shit. Just felt like a big kid, and I love doing things like that. This question is, were there a lot of tourists? Cherry blossom season, which I believe starts in March, ends, I'm assuming, into May, is one of the busiest times. And then I believe also fall time, like October, is also a busy time. Summer is also busy, but I know it gets really hot in the summer, so I personally wouldn't want to go in the summer. I found there to be quite a few tourists, yes. Did I find it to be a problem? No. I think that the large cities in Japan, especially the ones I visited, being Tokyo and Osaka, which are big touristy cities, I found them to be very busy with people, and that includes even the locals. Walking around kind of sometimes felt a little claustrophobic, but again, if you've been to New York, I feel like you kind of know. The city I went to was Kyoto, which has a ton of temples and shrines, so it was a lot more scenic than the larger cities, but I found it to be the most touristy. This question is, what surprised you the most about Japan? I think what surprised me the most is how clean it was. I know I had heard that, again, previously before going, but it really was crazy to see how clean the streets were, how many people were physically cleaning the streets at all times. There are also very limited areas on the streets in Japan where you're allowed to actually smoke, which I think is great because you know how many people throw their cigarette butts out on the ground? The next question is, how did you pack? I pre-plan my outfits for fashion week trips and anything that's more job or fashion related that I'm traveling for. For this trip, I definitely wanted to pack outfits that still felt like me and I'd still be able to get dressed up every day, because that literally is me. That literally is what I do. I'll be doing a lot of walking, so I still wanted them to be comfortable and walking friendly, but again, while still being cute. You guys know I'm a dress and skirt gal. I did pack a lot of dresses and skirts, grabbed a ton of random shirts, button downs, jackets. I think I packed one long windbreaker, a little bit of a thicker jacket because it did end up raining 2 or 3 days while I was there. And when it rained, it got a little chilly, so I did bring a jacket. I think I brought 3 pairs of shoes and maybe 4 purses. And then a ton of skincare. I'm a skincare baddie. I will not go anywhere without my full skincare routine. And then last but not least, the most asked question, what are the best stores, best thrifts, vintage toys that you went to in Japan? So some of the best stores I went to are Kindle, a few locations, definitely in Tokyo, Kyoto, and I think even in Osaka. Secondhand designer, really good prices, a big selection, and also has a ton of second streets, especially because it's a lot of those Japanese brands like Issey Miyake and Comme des Garçons are from and made. Closet Child, definitely check out all the Closet Childs you can. There's another one called Tao 10. There's a store called Pat Market. There's a few locations. I think one is fully women's wear. It's also where I got the Fruits magazines. Another beautiful vintage store I went to was called Kiki 2, A Little Trip to Heaven. There are a ton of malls. One of the malls had a store called Hey Hey that I loved from online on Instagram. Angelic Pretty, multiple locations. Multiple stores called QOO Vintage, Jam Vintage, Camellia Vintage, Amorphos, to Alice. Basically anywhere in Shibuya or Juku has a ton of amazing shopping. Kittyland, the Disney stores have actual Sanrio stores, which is a must. Nakano Broadway, which is a 5 or 6 story building just filled with different rooms of toys. I would Google just the more popular shopping areas or shopping streets and definitely check those out. Thank you guys so much for asking these questions and really enjoying my Japan trip as much as I did. Already planning my trip back. My social media links are in the description box. Give this video a like and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed. Now that I'm back and filled with inspiration, I can't wait to start making some more videos for all you guys. I'm on the road to 10,000 subscribers. So yeah, it feels like a crazy milestone that I really am excited to hopefully achieve. Wouldn't be able to do it without you guys. So thank you so, so much. And I'll see you in my next one. Mwah.